Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of appropriate ages, this is the Daily Deucey podcast. Thank you for stopping by. Today is January the 11th. Not a super bubbly day today by any means. Obviously, we have all this stupid Capitol fucking shit still going. My boy Michael Incognito of the old Aviators I made a post that a bunch of people are talking about, which is really relevant in kind of everything that we've been talking about, was, when is the Civil War starting? And, when can I go on vacation for that? And, I mean, unfortunately, that shit has been started already. I've been making posts about fucking Civil War since 2016. Probably going back to a lot of John Titter stuff I had read about when I was in college, but we'll kind of see where that goes from here. But like people from opposing sides have died. Now, say what you want about Kyle Rittenhouse, whether you think he's right or wrong, he killed people and they were basically combatants in that time. And then you got Michael Reinhold, the guy in Portland, who walked up to a Trump supporter and shot him right in the chest. I mean, those are acts of war to me. Even the Civil War, it was in certain areas. I don't think anything even happened in New Jersey. There's not going to just be full-scale war everywhere. It will be these perpetual battles getting bigger and bigger, and Antifa and the Trump people will face off and so on and so forth. That shit started. Tim Pool talks about being in Tahrir Square in Egypt. I think it's Tahrir Square. In Egypt when they had their revolution. And he always talks about he was in the hotel and he's looking in the square and these people are, going crazy. Fireworks are going off. The revolution's happening. And then he looked and there's a McDonald's where a guy's just sitting there eating a cheeseburger watching a soccer game. And in Lebanon, when they had the Civil War and all these things, the bomb went off the one time in a nightclub. So that means the nightclubs were open and people were partying. It wasn't, this wasn't blitzkrieg where people are just locked down and underground. So it's not great, dude. It's not great. And now we're having, the right used to stay with the police and not really go against them, but now that's not even the thing anymore anyway. So it's not great. The Civil War has started. And, there's people pushing us into it who are going to benefit from it. So, anywho, let's go into this first story here. Outgoing Capitol Police Chief, House Senate security officials hamstrung efforts to call in National Guard. 2 days before Congress was set to formalize President-elect Joe Biden's victory, Capitol Police Chief Stephen Sund was growing increasingly worried about the size of the pro-Trump crowds expected to stream into Washington to protest. To be on the safe side, Sund asked House and Senate security officials for permission to request that the D.C. National Guard be placed on standby in case he needed a quick backup. But Sund said Sunday they turned him down. Now, I don't really know what the difference between the Capitol Police Chief and the Senate and House security officials. Wouldn't they be the same thing? Or is the Senate and House security officials more akin to the Secret Service? I don't know. In his first interview since pro-Trump rioters stormed the U.S. Capitol last week, Sund, who has since resigned from his post, said his supervisors were reluctant to take formal steps to put the guard on call, even as police intelligence selected that the crowd President Trump invited probably going to be much larger than his earlier demonstrations. So here's kind of where it really gets shitty for Paul Irving, House Sergeant at Arms, said he wasn't comfortable with the optics of formally declaring an emergency ahead of the demonstration. Meanwhile, Senate Sergeant at Arms Michael Stenger suggested that Sund should informally seek out his guard's contact, asking them to lean forward and be on alert for the Capitol Police. Wow. Now, when people say things like, well, if they were black, this wouldn't have happened. I don't know about that, but not having enough cops or not calling in the National Guard, either because you thought it wasn't going to happen, even though you had intel, or you were worried about the optics, which is a million times worse. That's bad, dude. Oh, I didn't switch the actual here. Here we go. Good. So he's worried about the actual optics of formally declaring an emergency ahead of the demonstration. Like that's kind of shitty because when Antifa and BLM were there, they had the National Guard and they were all lined up. So when people say things like, "Well, they didn't react the same way they would have to black people," this might actually be an example of that. Like, how are you not worried about the optics, dude? Like, have enough people. Oh man, it was the first of 6 times Sun's request for help was rejected or delayed. 2 days later, on Wednesday afternoon, his forces already in the midst of the crisis, Sun said he pleaded for help 5 more times as the scene, far more dire than he had ever imagined, unfolded at the historical Capitol grounds. Okay, so this kind of paragraph is super important right here. I'm going to lift it up here. Okay. There's a lot of people saying that they let the protesters in. And it's just not the case. So an army of 8,000 pro-Trump demonstrators streamed down Pennsylvania after hearing Trump speak near the White House. Sun's outer perimeter on the Capitol's west side was breached within 15 minutes. They had 1,400 Capitol police officers on duty. And a lot of these videos where the guy like opens up the thing, it looks like 30 of them. So if 1,400, you basically have 7 to 8 times as many protesters as you had Capitol Police. If you want to say that they weren't prepared and they should have had the National Guard here, if we would have had the National Guard, we could have held them at bay longer until more officers from our partner agencies could have arrived. Yeah, like what? They're not going to just start mowing people down, whether they're Antifa, BLM, or Trump people. They're not going to just start shooting people like crazy. It's just not going to happen. So the videos where people are saying, let them in, yeah, what else were they supposed to do? They were about to be overwhelmed. They let them in. They retreated to a further back point, and they tried to regroup. I am making an urgent, immediate request for National Guard assistance. I have to get boots on the ground. On the call were several officials from the D.C. government, as well as officials from the Pentagon, including Walter, blah, 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 some ass dick. I don't like the visual of the National Guard standing a police line with the Capitol in the background, Piott said, according to some. Who the fuck's Piott? Lieutenant General Walter Piott, the director of the Army staff. Okay, thanks, asshole. Maybe you should have. It's a bad move, dude. It's a bad move. And even, I believe, let's see, there was the mayor also. Let me see if I can. Literally, this guy's on the phone with me crying out for help burn down his memories. Yeah, the mayor kind of wanted to fucking lighten it up as well because she didn't like the response to the BLM protests. I don't know. That's stupid to me. Okay, moving on to the local story, which actually has to do with this story. Activists accuse Ramsey police of targeting a lone black protester at anti-Trump rally. Ramsey police have been accused by activists of interrupting an anti-Trump protest Sunday and attempting to question the group's only black member. I want you, 20-year-old Victor Urbaez, the only black face among white protesters, said one of the officers told him. Police Chief Brian Gurney, however, shared video footage, which we will watch in a second, that he said showed Urbaez's back turned before officials confronting him, stating that it was impossible to identify the individual by color and that he wouldn't comply with the officer's request, which is exactly true. Urbaez, along with several other protesters from the Ramsey Alliance for Social Equity, which is basically just a bunch of white Karens, was standing in the middle of the road disrupting traffic before police arrived. One of the group's goals is to change how policing is conducted. He parked his car and tried to run after me. Just me, nobody else. I hope this and the Capitol terrorist attack sheds a light for the people who have been silent for so long. Those people who are quite frankly ignorant to white supremacy. Unfortunately, black lives never mattered, but my generation won't remain silent. Okay. Let's watch the video, bros. Okay. So, Instagram video. So, he's standing right in the middle of the street. Literally saying, whose streets? Our streets. And then, yeah, I actually did make a comment. And then he found out that it's not because the cops swiped him up. And guess what, bud? They were fucking right. So, hey, bud, get out of the street, please. Hey, bud, get out of the street, please. Hey, bud, hey, could you get out of the street? Oh, okay. Yeah, fuck your mother? Yeah, cool, thanks. Like, what are you expecting to happen? The BLM and Antifa protests and things like this happened in Ridgewood, things crazy. People got real fucking slick, which it shows the irony and the disingenuous. Like, these type of things have happened for months, all summer. BLM has been spitting in cops' faces, burning buildings down, setting up bombs, shooting people, all this. Yet, one time, the right overwhelms the Capitol, and now we need to shut down Twitter, we need to shut down Facebook, Trump needs to get impeached. Like, and not for nothing. In 4 years, if there's no mail-in voting this year, if there's no corona, Trump wins in a landslide. And if there's no mail-in voting, Trump slides through. What's going to happen in 4 years or 2 years when there's not mail-in voting to the same scale? This is why freedom and freedom of speech is so important, not when your side is in power, but when any side is in power. Because if you think that all these people should be silenced now and kicked off social media and everything, God forbid your party or your group loses power. Because then it flips the other way, and then you're really going to be in bad shape. Like, if they banned Sean King and all these BLM people and everybody who's posting pictures of cutting cops' heads off, what kind of insane reaction would people have? I mean, yeah. And the fucked up thing is, NorthJersey.com obviously does this. Like, it's so clear how far they lean. Like, you're not going to know that, like, the kid was walking in the middle of fucking traffic. This is supposed to just be kind of a news thing, so I don't want to fucking get into it too much. But when the group moved into the street, occupying an entire lane, several police officials were on the scene to prevent a traffic jam. They asked for his identification, but several Ramsey Alliance members said they believed everybody was being singled out. Other protesters offered their own ideas, with one member saying, "If you target one of us, you target all of us." Yeah, okay, Karen. I'm sure you want to get locked up too. You ever notice how even like the BLM protests are mostly white people? It's white supremacist, racist white people who think they know best for people of color. So they take people like this kid and put him out in the front so he gets in trouble. Like, don't you see that? Okay, into even worse news. Buy the dip, pussies. Oh, buy the dip? Bitcoin price risks losing 30K as traders manage risk. Some well-earned miner profit taking combined with a natural pause in the Bitcoin bull run to see the market reverse and revisit essential support levels. So, yeah. And Bitcoin is really shitty today. The whole crypto market is really shitty today. It's actually seemingly popping back a bit, but in reality, it's not that terrible because it's been on a pretty stiff rise and it's correcting a little bit. So a correction was inevitable. It was something that we were more than likely going to get no matter what. Bitcoin holders got a serious test of the resolve on January 11th as the largest cryptocurrency approached 30,000. Data from Cointelegraph Markets, Coin360, and TradingView showed the Bitcoin to US dollar continue its bearish streak as Wall Street opened on Monday, taking 24-hour losses to 23%. The move extends a reset of the market, which kicked in over the weekend after Bitcoin hit all-time highs of 42,000. So, I mean, we're at above 30,000 still, and that's a 25% decrease. So I think we'll all live. A slight come down accelerated through Sunday, with Monday continuing the selling pressure with little respite for traders attempting to buy the dip. While traders were hardly panicked by what remains standard behavior for Bitcoin, prognoses began to favor a break from the kind of parabolic action of recent days and weeks. For Cointelegraph markets analyst Michael Vendepoppy, a useful reference for defining a midterm floor lay in Bitcoin's 21-week moving average. So the MA currently at 18,000. So, I mean, if I'm pretty sure as of right now, it didn't even break the 30,000. It's already back up to 32.7. So it had dropped 13.9. So we'll give these as of 119. We have Bitcoin 32,782, Ethereum at a 999, about to break through that 1,000 again. We have Litecoin 126.43 and XRP at 28 cents. Bitcoin down 14%, Ethereum down 22, Litecoin 25, and XRP 13. So yeah, it's not great by any fucking means. But when you go on these meteoric rises, you're bound to dip a little bit. I would have preferred not this dip, this much. But the weird thing about cryptos and such like that is it runs 24 hours, so there's no stock markets opening and closing. So you could have these crazy swings overnight because China's just constantly pumping them. And the one thing it did mention were well-owned miner profit taking. So I'm not going to go into the specifics on actually mining Bitcoin, but the miners who are actually putting money out to electronically create these coins probably took some profit to pay their bills anyway, which happens a lot. I think Chinese New Year is coming up, or did come up, or whatever. I think maybe February. I'm not positive. Maybe March. Again, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. But there's always a big dip around Chinese New Year time because a lot of Chinese people will cash in their coins and they like to buy gifts and shit like that. So we're at just under 17 minutes already. It's not great, guys, to be completely honest. I don't know what the fuck's going to happen with Trump and with Twitter and Parler and all this. You cannot start kicking people off. This ended up going to be my closing rant. Amazon Web Services, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Google. It is a handful of major companies who are running everything. So that's actually anti-capitalist when there's no competition. So to say they're companies that can do whatever they want when there is no other competition possible because Amazon Web Services will not host them, we have a big problem. So again, don't be super happy when things are going your way now, because if the other party comes in and fucking Ted Cruz becomes the president in 4 years, you guys are going to be in a world of fucking hurt. Adios.